Oh, hello everyone. How's it going? Welcome to the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream here on twitch.tv/DDO youtube.com/Dungeons and Dragons /live, and facebook.com/DDO Unlimited. I'm DDO's community manager, Cordovan. Hello everyone. How's it going? We have got a lot going on here today, so I'm expecting a pretty exciting, chaotic, crazy, and pretty interesting show. We're going to be on Lamania today, showing off Update 45 stuff, including Alchemist. And we'll go through some of these release notes, Alchemist enhancement trees, and other things. Show off a little bit on an admin character to do some Q&A with you. We also, frankly, have some nerfs in the works. We riled y'all up yesterday, debuting on Lamania. Some balance changes that we feel are necessary involving combat styles and such. So we'll be going through a little bit of that today as well. But hey, did you notice? This was yesterday's Boston Globe. They had one of their reporters kind of send in a couple of questions, through the media chain, as it were, that ultimately ended up on Sev's desk. And he was able to provide a few quotes, and wouldn't you know it, yesterday, I guess it was, late Monday night, it went up online on Boston.com, that's the Boston Globe, big Boston newspaper, if you're not from the area or whatever. And wouldn't you know it, yesterday's paper, we made front page of the business section. So I'll let you read that if you want to. It's just cool to be in the local paper. And the Boston Globe is not small, so that was pretty exciting news for us folks here. I am not seeing any chat on YouTube. Let me just double check to make sure I am live on YouTube. I am indeed. Hello everyone on YouTube. How you doing? I see that there are some people watching. I also see we got some people watching on Twitch and on Facebook as well. Let me do one last thing on Facebook before I kick into the release notes, as it were, for Lamania and what we got going on. So it's a little less relevant to DDO, that Boston Globe article, but since this is the first live stream I've done since then, I thought it would be worth calling out because it's an SSJ thing. All right, there you go. I'm hearing people. Let me switch the camera briefly to our release notes. So what do we got going on? As of yesterday, we released our first preview for Update 45. This runs through tomorrow. And tonight, we have got a big dev event. We're going to have some of the development team, the QA team, folks from the DDO pit on Lamania answering your questions, getting your feedback on it, kind of maybe helping assist a preview, as it were, of the Alchemist and other things, like the base class, new spells, the 3 enhancement trees, revamped Catacombs and Delira's Tomb. We're doing epic versions of that. I believe the levels are 23 and 27, respectively. Named loot said for those things. Quality of life additions to the shared bank. That's one of the reasons I wanted to be on video on Lamania today, because I think you'll be pretty excited to see some of that. And then the balance changes. Many of them are very positive. Few of them are pretty significant on the nerf side. So, like I said, we riled people up a little yesterday on the forums, and that's okay. That's why we're doing these kind of previews, and we can talk a little bit more about that. You're right, the sound of the video is not synced on this computer. I don't know why that is. I spent some time working on it last week, changing the output settings and such on the web camera. That didn't solve it. And then today I tried to re-plug in, like, say, both the web camera, the Focusrite, which is what I'm using to bring audio into the computer. It's like a USB audio hub. Something's not syncing up correctly, but I don't have time to deal with that today. Plus, whatever. I'm talking. You don't need to take a look at me if you don't want to. It's fine. The bank update is a thing that is relevant. The event tonight is 8 to 10 p.m. It starts at 8:10 p.m. and goes until, no, it's 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Typically, these things go a little later sometimes if there's a lot of people around. We're going to dive into some of this new class stuff, enhancements, and the rest here on the show today. And like I said, I'm going to be flipping between here and Lamania, which I actually need to create a quick admin character for. I'm not nearly prepped enough for this. We've been busy the last couple of days, so this is my first chance to really do that. But I also wanted to create an alchemist for you so that we could go through some of this kind of stuff. You will find alchemist. Oops. I don't have enough points for alchemist. Anyway, custom. Oh, I don't need to. Okay. I'll figure out what race to be, I guess, here in a second. Just do base Marcus, why not? Rather 3-0 over Catacombs. Well, a lot of it was what could we hit quickly enough? What could we get done? A way to get both that and Delaras out the door. I think 3-0 would be, frankly, a whole bunch more work to get prepped. You're right, I could just create one. Excited about bank changes. All right, so remember, this is an admin character, so stats don't matter. Neither do my feats and that, although I am going to be going through some of this stuff with you here on an Alchemist on Live. Let me make sure. Okay, you can indeed see. It looks like I'm not covering up anything too important here. Let me maybe move the camera down a little bit. There we go. That should be a little bit better in terms of showing stuff off. You'll see, their natural skills. They get pretty extensive. Balance, Bluff, Concentration, Diplo, Haggle, Heal, Search, Spellcraft, Spot, and Use Magic Device. They do not get Jump as a feat, so that's one thing. Nor Swim, and I know y'all care about that. All right, so combat styles. Let's see, what do we got? Anything that's worth showing off here? Most of the fighting stuff we'll talk about. Here we go. It's racial feats. This doesn't really matter. I guess I should just maybe plan for a couple of these things as I'm leveling up. All right, so a lot of spells you'll see here that are new. The Alchemist, is chucking potions at things to cast its spells, and it provides a colored element, basically red, yellow, blue. We have some fancy names with it of Crimsonite, Gidleaf, and Ceruleite, but they are largely, if it helps in your head to color code it of red, yellow, blue, you can do that as well. And casting various spells in succession will build up your affinity with that element in a way that unlocks different things that the alchemist can do. But at its core, there's a whole bunch of kind of potion chucking and related spells that you can go through. I'm not going to go through the entire list. Like I said, there's at least, I think, 90 new spells. So that would take more than the show here today to go through them all. But a couple of quick things like Flash Powder, crush components in your hand, creating a loud boom. Enemy at touch range needs to make a fort save or be stunned for 3 seconds. Note this is a level 1 spell. Boost, get an action boost bonus essentially to your AC, PRR. I assume that's the same, but for attack. Toxic Liquid, poison. Remember that the Alchemist is going to scale its poison damage as well. There was a quick cooldown on that. Puts all action boosts and bottle boost spells on a cooldown, so they are on a shared cooldown with action boosts you might have. Curative admixtures, are a big focus of the Alchemist as well. In addition, there's a new feat that's coming with Update 45 that if you happen to see a really great video released yesterday from Strimtom with Steel Star, they deep dive pretty significantly into the new feat, which is Accelerate Spell Meta Magic. It allows you to chuck those potions much, much more quickly. And this one is a Scatter Fine Dust, forcing enemies caught within to make a reflex or trip for a little while. You'll see they do a lot of things, not just raw DPS, but also various crowd control and support mechanics as well. Generally, with some exceptions, red focuses a lot on the damage, yellow focuses a lot on sort of crowd control and then buffs and that kind of thing, and then blue is specifically like buffs, armor, PRR, things like that. And then they've just got a handful of like elemental spells, both long range and short. So why don't we, just for the heck of it, pick up one from each of these. How about, there we go. I'll randomize just a smidge. Looks fine. All right. Alchemister. Let me quick head through chat. You do not need points on Lamania to unlock Alchemist. You can ignore the UI thing. Yeah, you did see that. You can get a bunch of free points in the test dojo as well. CO6, Restless Isles. Restless Isles would be a really big undertaking. CO6 would be pretty significant as well. How do you get this game to download on a tablet, or can I? Is the message from Facebook. I am sorry to report that we do not support tablet gameplay. We are a PC game. I'm using some admin cheats here to scatter to move the process along. As you can see, the test dojo needs to load, and I need to turn off hints. I really need to find a setting to just do that forever. Don't show hints. Test dojo's really gotten a makeover over the years, I tell you. I miss the old dojo. Alchemist trainer here. So you'll see this is, I think, not entirely finished, but you'll see this section in the middle of the screen here, which relates to your balance, as we mentioned, in regard to reactions. By casting various spells of different combinations, you create reactions that do different things. And I will probably show that off here in a little bit, but let me just real quick level up a little bit so you can just kind of see some of these other spells. I'm not sure what exactly I should use. I was thinking about precision. Making a range just to, in case I needed to show that off. Let's see if that works. Here we go. Spell list 2. You've got things like Alluring Elixir, insight bonus to social skills. That'll clearly come in handy before some NPC things. Spell power on the defensive side, on the yellow side. Freezing liquid slows the movement of what it strikes. It deals some cold damage as well. Reduces their melee range power as well. Imbuement for various weapons, similar to some of the things that, say, Artificer can buff, with some difference. You can see here, for example, 1d6 dex damage crit. Things like that. Melt armor. 40 to 8 fire damage per caster level, max 10 to a single target, reduces AC PRR by 4, plus 2 seconds per caster level. restoration, chucker, things like that. And voltaic backlash, let's see. That sounds cool. All right. Effectively, are the reactions stances? No. I would liken them a little more similar, although not really the same, as sort of the monk some of the monk attacks that you can do with combinations there. It's a little bit similar to that, but on the spell side. And I think you'll actually see this through gameplay. You know, one of the main reasons we're here, right, is to invite you to go check this out on Lamadia and give us feedback as we get ready to bring this to the live worlds with the release of Update 45 in the relatively near future. And that'll include Alchemist, Epic, Dolaros, and Catacombs. The way that's going to work is if you have the Adventure Pack, you've got it. If you don't have the Adventure Pack, it's available to you free to VIP or available to purchase in the DDO store. And then we also have a whole bunch of combat and balance changes that are happening in preparation for the second season of the Hardcore League. I don't think we quite positioned our messaging correctly yesterday when we overly linked some of the balance changes to the Season 2 of the Hardcore League. While they are somewhat linked internally, they would have been done anyway. So, for example, one of the things I've seen recently, last 12 hours or so on the forums, relates to whether or not say, we're doing these nerfs, quote, for the Hardcore League. And I think the answer to that is no. We're doing them because they needed to be done. After looking at Season 1 of the Hardcore League, we kind of took a look at what kind of changes we wanted to do before we did that kind of season again. So in that respect, it is linked. But the wider importance is that these balance changes needed to be done, and we didn't want to do these adjustments in the middle of a Hardcore League season. So it's not so much that we're doing this ahead of every season, as if we need to do these kind of balance changes, we'd rather do it now, before the next Hardcore League starts, than, say, perhaps in the middle of the Hardcore League, which would be a little more chaotic. So I don't know that we entirely got that kind of messaging clear yesterday, but that's the intention. So nothing to announce on when on Season 2, although I will say this is clearly coming up sooner rather than later. All right, I guess I've mentioned that. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other chat, so let me go back and talk just briefly about some of these Alchemist feats. You will get various caster level increases with generally a main and a corresponding opposite on your colors, and you can see you can basically work that up based on what you want your character to be doing. You can also use your int bonus instead of strength dex to determine bonus to attack and damage with simple weapons if it's higher. So that's a pretty good one. I would imagine we'll see a lot. They could take dodge as a class feat. And of course the meta magics. I'm taking precise shot. And then why don't we grab those just in case. I'm not going to entirely do this. I'm actually maybe going to move off a little bit to just kind of go into a low-level dungeon, pop in some of these bars, and actually attack a little bit. We don't need to level all the way up on this character, at least not at this point. But let me go and just kind of get a few things in place here so that I can show off a few of these buffs. Let's do a blue, a yellow, and a red. And then for level 2 here, let's try that melt armor, voltaic backlash, and curative admixture. All right. As you can see, I don't really have any gear on this character per se, so it's going to be a little weird, but I'm mostly just popping in to show off a few spells and stuff anyway, so don't worry too much about it. Hello, Kobold. All right. Spell not prepared. I am the worst. You know this, right? Yeah. Let's try that again, shall we? Yeah, there we go. Go spell god on. That should take care of that. I'm having a problem with this. All right, well maybe what I'll do then instead is pop over to a bank and show that off here, and then I'll get a different character with some spells here going in just a second, unless I can remember the command to give myself a whole bunch more. So let's pop over to the bank, and we can show off some of the new UI changes that are happening there. And I'm gonna have to look up that one about how to give myself my main stat. I'll give you something better to look at while I do that. So, you can see we are making some adjustments to the shared account bank initially here. You can filter by level. It is going to have, you know, the typical search bar that it's had. You can search by slot: weapon, shield, rune arm, armor, eyes, head, neck, trinket, cloak, etc. You can sort by most recently added, oldest first, item name, A to Z, Z to A, 1 to 30, 30 to 1. That's what we're debuting with right now. This is really the first step, if it goes well, of a wider bit of work that we're going to be doing regarding bank space. But this is what we're doing here first. It doesn't surprise me at all at this point, Marching Kid, that we maybe have some bugs going on. This is really our first preview of Alchemist on Lamania, so there's going to be a whole bunch of kind of system polish that needs to take place. All right. Yeah, a bit like Monk Finishers, I would say. I'm just trying to get myself my ability here. Let me pop up the bank again while I look something up. There we go. There we go. All right. Target myself. Ability. Intelligence 100. There we go. Now I should be able to do all the spells I need. Wouldn't you like to be able to do that? All right, now let's try that again. There we go. And why don't we try each of these three? Oh, Violet Venom instead. All right. It's a little more than 3 weeks to the 13th anniversary. Or the 14th anniversary. That would be February 28th. There we go. So that's the self buff here. And that's the one where they smash on the ground. And then there is like a chuck on a cooldown. And you can see when I'm casting spells here, like I say, I don't think this is final, but the most recent spell color is blue. I think if I were to, let me try it with yellow here. Oh, it's because I'm doing the wrong one. Here we go. Let's try yellow and yellow. That should change it over to yellow eventually here. Like I say, I don't think a lot of the UI is not quite working there yet. So, but you can just kind of see how some of this stuff is AoE, some of this is chucked, and then the accelerate meta magic is going to whip that. There was a video that StrimTom did just recently that got published. He was in the studio last week, which was awesome, by the way. And he published a really great in-depth video interview with Steelstar earlier this week. And I would strongly recommend, if you want to really deep dive into the systems there, that you check that out. So reaction color, you can even see it does various reactions outside of red, blue, yellow, like it combos the colors, orange in this case, with red and yellow. And that'll do different things as well. I don't think I've got any... So, alchemists have a unique way of combining their spells. As an alchemist, your spells are associated with a primer: Crimsonite, Gidleaf, Ceruleite. Casting a spell from a single primer, then casting a spell from a different primer activates a reaction, depending on the primer the spell's cast. Reactions come in 3 variants: Pyrite, Viridite, Purple, Orange, Green. You can only be in one reaction at a time, and casting an alchemist spell from a primer not associated with that reaction cancels the other one. I'm not going to go fully into this, and clearly we need to do a little formatting on this as well. But you can also take a look, for example, at the reactions. Like, for Pyrite, fire, cold, electric, acid, poison, spell power equal to 10 plus 6 times your alchemist level. So, let's say I'm a level 10 alchemist, that would give me 70 of elemental spell power, and a negative 50% enhancement bonus to spell point cost, half spell point cost while that's active. The Verdinite reaction, positive and negative spell power equal to 10 plus 6 times your level of alchemist, and transmutation and conjuration DCs. The Orchidium is PRR elemental resist equal to 10 plus triple alchemist level. Each reaction does something unique, lasts for as long as you maintain that reaction you can just kind of see with the rest of this yourself. So does that make sense? You're basically casting a spell, casting a different color spell, creating a reaction. That reaction is giving you a benefit for as long as you choose to maintain that reaction. You can now drink potions while moving without being interrupted. Also, it is by alchemist level that this stuff scales, so you multi-classers out there will want to plan accordingly. Let's see if I got any questions here. Yeah, I don't know about it probably improved turning. I really don't. Sorry. Is the intent to have that enchant or enhancement give light damage then? I believe it was, right? Hopeless change will affect reincarnation bank. Maybe eventually, but that's not... I think what we may see next, and I don't want to commit at this point, but I think we would probably, once we are good with the shared bank, take a look at the character bank with this tech. But we'll see. Yeah, the Rune Arm auto charge should turn off while you're mounted. I understand some people kind of like it there, but it's also, it doesn't make sense. You want 500 intelligence? Yeah, okay. Ha ha ha! I have ultimate power! Only a plus 245 modifier. So. Okay, let me move back and actually bring up a different set of notes I wanted to talk about, because I did want to talk about some of our other release notes here. We do have a named loot thread that the community is working to put together. We do have a thing. Let me actually move to this, for example. There we go. Some two-handed fighting changes. We're basically getting rid of the way that glancing blows work here with Update 45 and replacing it with a new mechanic called Strike Through. So, while wielding a two-handed weapon, or Bastard Sword or Dwarven Axe in your main hand and a shield, or Rune Arm, or nothing in offhand, your attacks can strike through. So, sword and board, single weapon fighting has strike through. Two-handed weapon as well. When your attacks can strike through, every attack has a chance to hit an additional target. By default, players have a 20% strike-through chance. Similar to glancing blows in many ways, cannot strike through while moving, however. If your strike-through chance is over 100%, you are guaranteed to hit a second target, if in range on your attacks, with a chance to hit a third. By default, you can only strike through while standing still. Now, you can alleviate that as well. You'll see combat-style feats. Two-handed fighting feat is now a 20% strike-through chance, and by taking the two-handed fighting feat, or etc., you get strike-through while moving. So that's just a temporary thing for those who might want strike-through without the associated feat. You get a +2 combat-style bonus to melee power while two-handed fighting. For the purposes of the feat, you're considered... Okay, I'm not going to go through all that. Improved is a +4 combat-style bonus to melee power, +6 to melee power for greater. Perfect is +10. Class-specific feats also are in there as well. I guess I'm not going to go through it other than say, you know, strike through was added to like natural fighting and some other places where it needed to be as well. You can see that we've done some general enhancement work. I'm not at the moment going to go through all of our enhancement tables, although I can if I want to, but you'll see mostly it had to do with bringing strike through to be equal, basically equal to where it was for the glancing blows as needed. Fury of the Wild, Destiny enhancements, malicious weapon will get 135% strike through chance for example. Strike Through will help give two-handed fighting its own unique niche as an AoE-focused melee combat style. It is another basically hit on a second target, including associated effects. The next one I wanted to quick bring up, since we were talking about our combat stuff, is I wanted to bring up the ranged one that I know, we got quite the reaction from on the forums here, as evidenced by a 9-page thread in less than 24 hours. That happens sometimes. Sometimes that happens. It's okay. Ranged combat changes. So, is Inquisitive balanced where it needs to be overall? No. In evaluating play data, it's become clear Inquisitive is too strong. We iterated on some changes, ended up making changes to reduce its power from a number of angles. Some address some of the below questions. Are crossbow styles balanced where they need to be relative to other crossbow styles? No. Inquisitive is much stronger than the others. I think everyone is pretty well of the knowledge that Inquisitive is an outlier, as seen in part by our first hardcore season. Are crossbows as a combat style balanced? Looking at the context of crossbows v. bows, it's become clear repeaters are close to where they need to be, but great and dual are significantly too high. Is ranged weapon combat as an archetype balanced where it needs to be relative to other combat styles? Looking in the context, there are issues with ranged easy access to AoE on hit and current lack of incentive to focus on single target. So I think what we're going to be seeing is perhaps a little bit of a shift as we up ranged combat, including, I believe, in the relatively near future, some bow work that is in the works. This is being done in preparation for that, although some of it's happening in Update 45 here. Like, for example, Archer's Focus and Improved Precise Shot. So, Improved Precise Shot, reducing range damage by 20% while active. Archer's Focus is a stance like it was. It grants power to those who focus their attacks on a single target. Once per second, attacking a foe with a ranged weapon will grant you a stack of Archer's Focus. You'll get a +3 competence. Boost to range power, lasting for 6 seconds, can stack up to 15 times, total 45, by attacking the same target. Attacking a different target with a ranged weapon resets that stack. Rapid reload now increases the reload speed of great crossbows, dual lights, and dual light by less than before. We're bringing down rapid reload slightly. Endless Fusillade, no holds barred, will require a crossbow to be equipped, and it will now play a reload animation on activation before the effect starts. This is shorter than the previous active animation it had. Simple thrown weapon expertise, new feat, requires 13 dex, skilled with the use of simple thrown weapons like daggers, darts. While using one, you gain double shot equal to your dex. And Multitude of Missiles requires point-blank shots, +6 BAB. For the next 20 seconds, while wielding a simple thrown weapon, add 120 to your double shot 4 times your BAB to range power. So we're trying to bring up some thrown dagger dart builds that have expressed interest in us doing so. And so I think we're going to see that at least partly in the form of these 2 new feats here today. We're doing some Deepwood Stalker work. To no longer reduce attack by 5 while toggled on, it'll grant a +1 competence bonus to critical multiplier to longbows and shortbows while toggled on. And it strikes like lightning will add 10% ranged alacrity with longbows and shortbows when you do not have Improved Precise Shot enabled. Inquisitive, dual crossbow combat styles will now only use 6% of the double shot rather than, 100? Inquisitive Law Dice will scale with 150% range power instead of 200, and Improved Law, Greater Law, and Inquisitive will get +1 Law die instead of +2. So those are the main balance changes regarding ranged combat, and like I say, we clearly got some people interested in discussing the subject with us, so we'll be going through that today, and considering any feedback that is being provided. We also do have some work here. Let me call this one up. On Night of the Chalice changes, we're going to be doing some work on KOTC. Increase overall viability of DPS weapon-based pallies, move abilities in the tree that augmented paladin feats out of tiers where you don't have the feat yet, and provide some incentive to use favored weapons. So you can take a look at this. Light damage in the cores will now scale with 200% melee or range power in addition to other changes. Core 3, it'll also get a +3 remove disease charges. Core 4 will give you immunity to energy drain. That don't suck. Core 6, your Aura of Courage will grant allies a 3% sacred bonus to melee ranged damage. Blessed Purpose now stacks up to 25. I'm not going to go through all this stuff here because you can take a look at it, particularly if it's of interest to you, and Night of the Chalice. But we're making some pretty big changes to Night of the Chalice here that hopefully will bring it in line more to where you and we want it to be. And then, like I say, there are really the 3 Alchemist enhancement trees. I guess I could just very briefly go through that to kind of wrap up the show here, and then do some Q&A as needed. Will it be possible to sort augments in the ingredient bank by level? No, this is regarding, well, I don't think so. Let me find out. Maybe it will. Let me find out. That's something I can look up. I did not say the weekend bonus. I'm going to have to look that one up real quick. We recently put together our 2020 calendar, so things are a little scattered in a few places. Yeah, this is not in crafting storage yet. Okay. Shared account bank, not crafting storage. All right, let me call up these trees then. So we have Bombardier, Apothecary, and Vile Chemist. Bombardier really gives you, say, magic rating and fire-focused or pyrite reaction things. That would be the red. All sorts of spell power. Elements to specialize in, which give you various things. Damage spells, additional crit chance, all that sort of stuff. You can get 10 temp hit points when you deal when you are dealt sympathetic elemental damage. You can enhance metamagic feats. Generally, tier 5 is the stuff that I like to focus on. Element for an explosive spell. Let's just say, for example, Frost. Cold damage per caster level to all enemies nearby. Big boom. Big bada boom. There we go. There's another one here. A weakening mixture. It'll weaken things. Increase your cold damage against a creature. This is going to be quite useful, I would imagine, in some raids in particular, right? Schools to specialize in. Conjuration and transmutation. Remember, Steelstar talked a couple days ago in that interview about how that is their main school focus, is transmutation and conjuration. You will take 1% more damage for 3 seconds under vulnerable. Your Burning Ambition damage increased by 46. Your harmful Crimsonite spells apply a stack of vulnerable to enemies that have been ignited by at least 3 different elements of Burning Ambition, so they will become more susceptible to damage for a stacking amount of time. Okay, Apothecary. Will saves on the base. This is largely, I understand, kind of more of a healing and buffing tree. A heal, Chuck, curative admixture, and especially with Accelerate Metamagic, I think we're going to see quite a few people taking that for AoE heals. You'll get a boost to your intelligence. Big unconsciousness range. boost. And a boost to your DCs. You can get Hamp, positive spell power. So yeah, this is focusing a lot on healing conjured components. It's kind of cool. This will actually probably be pretty popular, I'd imagine, for quite a few, being as it's low range. You conjure up a large number of components that stand in for the potion requirements, and all of your admixture spells expire and log up. Basically, conjure bolts kind of a thing. Let's move to the top 5 of Apothecary. Cure critical, AoE, curative admixture. UMD, universal spell power. Oh, retain your ammo, as it were. No max caster level, curative admixtures, and Guildleaf Alchemist spells. Target enemy at touch range, fascinated, etc. Must make a fort save or die instantly. They do have a coup de grace type called Dissolve. I think I saw that in Robocop. It was pretty gross. Deadly Neurotoxin. Offensive Guildleaf and Ceruleite spells reduce your target armor class magical resistance by 1, max 5. Yeah, I think meta enhancements 1 point each across the board is I think as designed for the most part here. There may be a few exceptions, but an auto search for a rogue enhancement tree like mechanic at some point. Yeah, that could happen theoretically. Yep. All right, so let me kind of pop on over here to Vile Chemist. This is a poison based tree in particular. Poison spells you cast leave enemies contaminated, and that does different things. Additional poison damage on hit. This also is probably going to be a popular tree with said dart throwing dagger builds because you get plus to your weapons. You can up the die for poisoned coating dice. You can use int to determine double shot you gain from the simple thrown expertise feat if it's higher. Defensive roll feat, below 20% hit points, there's a chance equal to reflex save that attacks do half damage, have their effects negated. That's not terrible. Your poison coating dice now D10s instead of D6s. Probably a little bit similar to kind of almost the way hand wraps scale up a little bit, right? And then Venom's Grip, your poison coating die, where was that, is now D12, and you get plus 2 die for that. You get plus to hit, plus to damage while holding a simple weapon in your main hand, and nothing in offhand, so kind of a single weapon fighting sort of thing. Again, simple weapon largely probably focused on darts and thrown weapons, although could be applicable elsewhere. Wave of Poison, a SLA, and infect enemies with a deadly poison. They'll take poison damage, and will leave them contaminated. You can get a boost to your AC here. Let's see where else I got. So, yeah, as long as they're contaminated, you'll see your strikes do things like reduce their saving throws. There's several other things in that as well. I'm just not calling it up right now. Attacking, 10% chance to get 10 temp spell points, plus 1 per alchemist level when you're single weapon fighting. Chemical weapon, get plus 1 weapon and plus 15% attack speed when single weapon fighting. Contaminated strikes, when you strike a contaminated enemy, they gain 1 stack of vulnerable. You know what that is. Single weapon fighting, plus 2 hit damage, plus 1 bonus to crit range and multiplier, plus 2 if using darts. And Greater Wave of Poison, basically a boosted version of the earlier SLA. You infect enemies in a short cone with a deadly poison that eats away at them. So Vile Chemist is that one. So we are having a dev event tonight, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. You do need to download the Lamania client. It's a separate game client. You can find that over on the DDO forums under the Lamania section if you want to. Let me quick move on over to... Oh, here we go. See, while I'm in that reaction there, you got a little difference, visual difference here so that you can kind of see what your current reaction is. And then if I cast something in a, let's say, blue, it should cancel out. Boom, right? Now let me do blue and see if I can get a reaction going here. Is it blue and red? Maybe the blue's just not hooked up visually yet. I would have thought I'd be doing a reaction at this point. Or maybe I need a different blue spell, perhaps. Maybe that's my problem. All right. Either way, yeah, you can find it over in the DDO forums. Join us 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern tonight if you'd like to. Get us some feedback on Lamania. We do appreciate that feedback. This is for Update 45, which is coming next. We'll probably have another preview here before we go live with it, but you can see it in probably sometime in February here. We'll be releasing Update 45. Let me quick move to the bonus before I largely get ready to wrap things up for the show. Would point out that we do have our calendar current over on DDO Stream, so if you'd like to find out what all streamers are streaming on DDO Stream, you can do so. I would like to call out again StrimTom's interview. That's something you probably want to check out. We also do have some pretty cool stuff in the works. We're working on a producer's letter, but it's not quite there yet. Stay tuned, however. We're getting there. Let me double check my dates, make sure I'm correct. All right, yes, plus 5% Raid XP. Plus 5% Raid XP kicks off late tomorrow morning Eastern Time and runs through Sunday, January 19th. Samus Grobo is going to be up next. Thanks, everyone, for being a part of the show. Thank you for watching / listening. I will see you next week, potentially on Galanda, for week 1 of 2 on Galanda, if we aren't on Lamania instead, which is another possibility. We would appreciate any feedback you want to give over on the Lamania forums. That's a great way to get us feedback on all of this systems changes, combat style changes, alchemist enhancement trees, and that sort of thing. And please do, if you want to run Epic Catacombs and Doloros, get us feedback on that as well. All right, Samus Grobo's up next. Have fun, everyone. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.